Watch Dogs 1 is one of those games that becomes more interesting the deeper you look at the world behind the missions, and one of the most overlooked aspects is how Chicago itself functions as a character. One shaped, controlled, and practically weaponized by CTOS. When you go back and replay the game, you start to notice just how much the story isn't only about Aiden Pierce's revenge, but about a city that has already surrendered its privacy, its autonomy, and its sense of safety long before Aiden ever picks up a smartphone. The brilliance of Watch Dogs. One lies in how it blends personal stakes with systemic corruption, showing you a world where every camera, every phone call, every streetlight is silently feeding into a network designed to watch everyone and hold them hostage without them even realizing it. Aiden himself is a reflection of that system. He's not a traditional hero, he's more like a product of the very surveillance state he fights. What makes his character so compelling is the fact that he genuinely believes he's doing the right thing, bringing justice to those who wronged his family. Yet nearly everything he does fuels a cycle of violence. His obsession with control mirrors CTOS's obsession with control, and the game subtly reinforces this through gameplay. You use the city to manipulate enemies, solve problems, and track people just like the system does. Watch Dogs blurs the line between protector and intruder, making you question whether Aiden is any better than the forces he opposes. And the game doesn't shy away from showing the collateral damage of that mindset. Clara Lila, for example, is caught between her loyalty to Aiden and her guilt for her role in the breach that set everything into motion. Her story is a reminder that in a world full of secrets, even those with good intentions can end up destroying the people they care about. But one of the most fascinating parts of Watch Dogs 1 is how the game uses its factions to illustrate the different ways people react to a society built on surveillance and corporate power. Take DedSec. Here they're not the colorful hacking collective seen in Watch Dogs 2. They're more mysterious, more paranoid, and more morally ambiguous. They see Aiden as a tool, not a partner, and the game frequently hints that their agenda isn't as righteous as they want the public to believe. Meanwhile, groups like the Militia, the Fixers, and the Bloom Corporation show how power gets distributed in a city where technology is currency. Bloom uses CTOS to influence everything from policing to infrastructure. Geordie Chin, on the other hand, is a perfect representation of how people take advantage of the chaos behind the scenes, profit over principle. And then there's Damien Brinks, a villain who isn't physically intimidating, but emotionally manipulative and deeply tied to Aiden's past. He becomes the human embodiment of the consequences of Aiden's actions, representing the domino effect that starts when someone believes they can control everything. Chicago itself reinforces these themes through its atmosphere. The city feels cold, slick, and drenched in surveillance. Even simple activities like profiling passersby remind you that everyone's information is constantly exposed. You learn about people's debts, illnesses, secrets, and private struggles, all through a quick scan. It's invasive, and the game wants you to feel that discomfort. The setting also highlights the economic divide, with wealthy districts where CTOS operates cleanly, and poor areas where the system creates more problems than solutions. That contrast is intentional, emphasizing how technology can become another way to enforce inequality rather than solve it. Another subtle but powerful part of Watch Dogs, one that often gets overlooked, is how the city remembers your actions even when you're not aware of it. The reputation system may not be displayed in a flashy way, but it influences far more than most players realize. News broadcasts on car radios shift their tone depending on how violently or responsibly you've been playing. Civilians' comments change too. People might whisper about the vigilante with admiration, or criticize him as a menace who causes more destruction than he prevents. These audio cues aren't just filler, they're designed to make the world feel reactive, as if Aiden's myth is spreading through word of mouth. It creates the feeling that your decisions, even small ones, have a ripple effect across an entire city that you barely interact with directly. Even the police behavior ties into this perception-driven system. If you've built a reputation for chaos, patrols tend to escalate faster, with more aggressive pursuit patterns and quicker deployment of CTOS tools like road spikes or helicopter tracking. Conversely, a quieter approach leads to slower escalation, because in the eyes of the system, you're less of a recurrent threat. What's clever is that the game never tells you this outright. It allows players who pay attention to discover it naturally, reinforcing the theme that being watched is constant, silent, and deeply integrated into daily life.